Hello, my name is Steve Cunningham, and I am the founder and chief product officer here at Read It For Me, and I'm excited to introduce you to something pretty cool here today. It's called Read It For Me for Companies, and I think you're going to love it. It's the easiest and fastest way for team leaders to engage their teams in lifelong learning. And to celebrate this release, we are giving you a special offer here today. Buy an annual membership for your entire company for only $299. It's pretty straightforward. And what's the regular price for an individual membership for Read It For Me? Well, you guessed it, $299. So you're getting access to Read It For Me for your entire company for the cost of one person. And that's not all, because if you take advantage of this offer, you're going to get a lifetime membership for yourself, absolutely free, which is regularly $1,499. So why are we doing this? Well, we want your team to try this, and we know that if they try it, they're going to love it. So that's really our motivation here today. We'll talk about pricing options for year 2 and beyond, but I think you'll see as we go through this presentation that that is super affordable as well. So let's talk a little bit about what we do so that you can get an essence of what our service is all about. The first thing we do are book summaries. We take the world's best-selling business and personal development books, and in 12 minutes or less, we turn them into animated video, audio, and text. We're going to actually show you one of those videos in a moment here. And we release a new summary every single day of the week in the following categories. On Monday, we release a leadership book like First Break All the Rules. On Tuesday, we release a sales book like To Sell Is Human. On Wednesday, it's a marketing book like Contagious. On Thursday, it's a personal development book like The One Thing. On Friday, it's a book about the future, which is creativity, innovation, and trends like The Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. On Saturday, it's a book about entrepreneurship like Ask Gary Vee. And finally, on Sunday, it's a book about social good like Start Something That Matters by Blake Mycoskie. So no matter what your team or your employees are doing, there is something in it for them every single week so that they can really learn something new on a weekly basis simply and easily and quickly. So, like I said, we're going to watch a video here today so that you can get right into it and get the essence of what we do. This is one of my favorite books in our entire system. It's not a book that's very well known, but it's a book that I think is going to convince you that you can learn something impactful and useful in 10 minutes. So sit back and relax. This is a book called Instant Influence, and you're going to learn how to get anyone to do anything fast.
Can you motivate anyone in 7 minutes? Would the ability to influence your customers, your work colleagues, your partner, or even your children be valuable to you? Michael Pantalone wrote the book Instant Influence to do just that. He gives us a scientifically supported method that gets people to take action because they want to. In fact, it's even possible to use instant influence methodology on yourself. So spend the next few minutes with us exploring how you can be a master of influence. Finding the spark. Have you ever found yourself wondering why the people in your life won't change, despite the numerous logical reasons you've pointed out to them? As it turns out, that type of persuasion rarely, if ever, works. As Pantalone tells us, people change because of their own reasons. That's the secret sauce of instant influence. It helps people discover their own justification for doing something, even something they thought they didn't want to do. When someone genuinely doesn't want to change, change won't happen. But even the most reluctant of us has a tiny spark of desire to change hidden within. Helping us find that spark can literally transform our lives. How? People take action when they hear themselves say that they want to. Get someone to tell you why, and action to change is almost sure to follow. Pantalone uses this notion at the heart of his instant influence method, and he extends it with the following 4 assumptions. We are free to choose how we behave. Other people can threaten that freedom by attempting to impose control. We tend to act very negatively when our freedom is threatened, making us more resistant to the control being applied. And finally, our freedom can be restored by asserting self-determination and taking control ourselves. The key point is how we frame our attempt to influence. We need to take their frame of focus, not our own. Our influencing conversation must then contain statements such as, "This is your choice, not mine. It's completely your decision. You're free to do whatever you want. I can't make this choice for you. It's up to you." All of these give the power back to the influencee, brightens the spark, and gives ignition to change. Instant influence, step by step. Pantalon's instant influence method consists of 6 progressive steps leading to change. In challenging situations, we may need to move through each stage. In other cases, having created the spark, the influencee takes control and accelerates the process themselves. But let's move step by step. Step number 1, why might you change? The first challenge we must meet is how to put the influencee in a position where they're able to visualize themselves in the desired situation. In most cases, you'll have identified what you want to change and what the desired outcome should look like. It's not news to your family member who doesn't have a healthy diet that continuing down that path might lead to health problems. So you need to phrase questions in such a way as to challenge the influencee to see themselves in that scene. Instead of focusing on the negative behavior, Pantalon suggests we look for desirable behavior close to where we want to get. He suggests asking questions such as, "Why are you doing blank?" where the focus is close to the target. For example, "Why did you choose salad today?" for someone who wished to lose weight. Follow up with, "Why would you do more?" Pantalon suggests we could focus on the past and ask, "Why have you ever done the thing we're talking about?" There are some questions, however, we need to avoid, especially as we've identified those which sounded like orders. Why don't you blank? Why haven't you blank? Why wouldn't you blank? Pantalon then suggests we use a technique psychologists and counselors call reflection. Reflection is the process of repeating back, or echoing, what the other person has just said, as if you're holding up a mirror to his words. We need to reflect back even the tiniest spark of motivation to help the other person see more clearly what it is he already wants. Having kindled that spark, we need to give it more oxygen. Step number 2, how ready are you to change? The next step starts with the deceivingly simple question. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means not ready at all and 10 means totally ready, how ready are you to make the change happen? The goal of step 2 is to help you and the other person gauge their motivation. Pantalon suggests we don't attach too much importance to the numbers. A low number doesn't mean that they're not likely to take action, nor does a high number mean that they're likely to take action. What's important isn't the number, but the process of thinking about why they might want to do something. We move then quickly to step 3. Step 3, why didn't you pick a lower number? This is where the technique gets interesting. Why would someone who they think is trying to encourage them to do more ask why they didn't do less? If somebody picks a low number, this will usually stop them in their tracks. Then they'll start thinking of the reasons why they didn't choose a 1 instead of a 3. This is where the person starts to uncover some real reasons why they are ready to change. The critical part is that the reasons for change are coming out of their mouth and not yours. They're no longer being told what to do and will now feel like they're ready to make the change because they want to. This is incredibly powerful stuff. Step number 4, imagine you've changed. What would the positive outcomes be? Here's where we start to crystallize the benefits of change. We can suggest that the change has already happened and encourage the person to visualize the change in detail. Ask them what would be different in their life. What would they be able to do now that they've changed that they couldn't do before? If you feel like things are going really well, you can even ask them to give a deadline of when you think the change will be complete. Pantalon's research has shown that the people are far more likely to change if they think of the upside of changing rather than the downside of not changing. Step number 5, why are those outcomes important to you? In step 5, we're going to get close to the visible change itself. But before then, we need to once more take the frame of the influencee. Pantalon asks us to ask them to dig deep for reasons to make the change. The familiar 5 whys technique is of value here. Ask, why are these outcomes important to you? And then for each answer, ask why. By the time you've got to the 5th why, you've most likely reached a true personal reason, close to the heart of the influencee. Don't be surprised if they become emotional at this stage. It's sometimes quite a journey. Invariably, the answers move almost magically from the practical and impersonal to the heartfelt and deeply personal. Again, the technique of reflection is valuable. The influencee needs to hear back how you understand how they're hopeful, what they want, why they want it, and how they truly believe things could be better. Step number 6. What's the next step, if any? The final step no longer looks at the whys but turns to the hows. What's the next step, if any? Adding those two little words, if any, is another way to reinforce the other person's autonomy. It's still up to her to decide whether there'll be a next step. Now you're ready for one final action. Ask their permission to meet again after an appropriate time has elapsed, to review progress, and to recommit to the change. As stated, it's likely that all 6 steps may not be necessary. Taking a structured approach to encourage change can often be the trigger to the influencee to take control themselves. Influencing yourself. We spent a lot of time talking about influencing others, but you can also use the instant influence technique to influence yourself. Here's Pantaloon's self-influence process. First, identify a change you'd like to make or an action you'd like to take. Formulate it in terms of behavior, not results. Second, write down the first instant influence question, why might I change? And then write down your answer. Move on to the next step, writing down your answers until you reach step 5. When you get to step 5, write why and then answer. Repeat 4 more times so that you've asked and answered the 5 whys. When you reach step 6, choose a small, manageable step and pick a time that you'll check back in with yourself to review your progress and choose a next step. Finally, a few guidance tips. Pantaloon gives us the following advice when we use the instant influence method. Start small. Keep looking for smaller and smaller beginning steps until you find the one that feels safe or that you can least visualize doing. Allow for the possibility that any problem might have many different solutions. Focus on action, not decisions. We often focus too much on the how when we really should be looking at the why. But sometimes the how is the problem, and acquiring skills may be all that's needed to get the ball rolling. Don't judge or self-censor. Just be open to the process. Prepare to be surprised. You will almost certainly learn something new about your own reasons for wanting something. Trust the process. You may find yourself taking action almost without realizing it, so don't feel like you need to force yourself. Have you consulted an expert? Experts may be able to identify whether the problem is one of skill or will. Motivation is like a seed that sprouts and begins to grow while still underground. We may know it's there, but we don't always trust that one day it'll break through to the light. And finally, affirm the influencee's right to say no. Affirm their ownership of the decision. So there you have it. Everything you need in order to get started to become a master of influence using the method of instant influence by Michael Pantaloon.
Welcome back. I hope that gave you a good sense of how quickly and easily you can learn some impactful things through our system. You know, the thing that really stuck out for me was this simple method of taking people from not wanting to do something or thinking that they don't want to do something to they are ready to make the change. And it's those 2 simple questions that you need to ask them. On a scale from 1 to 10, how ready are you to make the change? Instead of doing the next step as, how do we get you higher? How do we get you to a 10, which is what most people would do. You ask them, why didn't you pick a lower number? And of course, now this method seems obvious, but this is a scientifically proven method to get people to do what it is you want them to do, as long as there's a little kernel of motivation already there. So there, in less than 10 minutes, you've learned something incredibly impactful, something that I'm going to suggest might make a huge difference in your life and in the lives of everybody who works on your team. You can imagine that people inside your company need to get other people to do things every single day. This might be a method that they latch onto and makes them more effective. So, 2 questions that we always get here at Read It For Me. The first question is, how do you decide what books you put into the library? I could literally open our support email box right now and you'll see this question many times. So how do we do that? Well, we have a worldwide network of company leaders and entrepreneurs who make suggestions. And that's exactly how we pick the books that we put into our library. So you know that you're tapping into what leaders from around the world, thousands of leaders around the world, what they are asking us for, and so that you're always up to date on what the latest and most impactful thinking is. The other question is, well, who summarizes the books? Who really dives deep and finds the gold inside of those books? And the answer to that question is I do. I'm the one who's finding the golden nuggets in these books for you. In fact, I'm probably the best in the world at this for a couple of reasons. Now, before we move on, I just want to make the point that I wish I was the best in the world at something a lot cooler than reading and summarizing business books, like, maybe being a rock and roll musician, or being the fastest man in the world, or a world-class Olympic athlete. But here I am, best in the world at summarizing business books clearly and concisely. There's a couple of reasons for this. First, this was a skill that I learned in law school. By the way, I think I am the world record holder for shortest serving attorney or lawyer ever, 1 week. That's a story for another day. But this was a skill that I learned through 2 years of law school. So what happens in law school is they assign you hundreds of pages of reading every single night, and you have to go home, read it, be prepared the next day to present a summary of it and defend an argument one way or another, because they would randomly call on people in the class. This was a terrifying experience, but it was incredibly good training for pointing out, or figuring out, I should say, what is the most important stuff in hundreds of pages of reading. That's the first reason. The second reason is that I have the context of 12 plus years of entrepreneurship to help me understand what's important and what's not important. So I've run a manufacturing company. I have run a digital marketing agency. I was, like I said, a lawyer for 1 week, and now I'm running an e-learning company. So I've got a wide breadth of experience to understand exactly what is important in these books. So what that allows us to do for you is to turn your in-between moments into the most productive part of your day. In those 10 minutes or less, you're getting the best insights from the best books around the world. We send you an email for new books every single day at 6 a.m., but don't worry, you can choose which emails to receive, update your preferences at any time so you don't get overwhelmed and you only get the content that you want. If you only want leadership and sales, well, that's what you're going to get. If you only want a weekly digest, that's also what you can get. And in fact, that's where we start off with all of our new users. You'll get a weekly digest so that you'll understand, here's what happened last week, here's what's coming up this following week, and then you can decide to pick the daily email from there. We have some of the world's most respected thought leaders using our service. Here's what Dan Pink has to say about Read It For Me. Read It For Me is an amazing resource that are able to cut to the heart of an idea and communicate it in a way that is both engaging and entertaining. If you're not tuned in weekly, you're missing out big time. So that's Read It For Me summaries. Now I want to talk to you about a tool that we are releasing shortly that I think you and your team are going to absolutely love, and it's called Read It For Me Book Clubs. Here's how it works. A book club leader assigns a book from inside of our system and invites people to join their book club. Now, this could be anybody inside of your company inviting anybody else inside of your company to join this club. Now, the important part here is that people are gathering around shared ideas. So this could be people from different parts of your company coming together. This could be a marketing team coming together. But the important part here is that you're gathering around these important ideas. The next thing that happens is the book club members are notified and the book shows up in their members account under book club, so it's easily accessible and they don't have to go searching inside of their account in order to find it. The member watches or listens to the book at some point before the meeting, and the meeting can happen online or in person. We've got customers who do this by telephone conference. We have customers who do this by bringing a pizza into a boardroom, and basically everything in between. Now, while they are getting ready for this meeting, the members input their ideas on the Ideas tab inside of their account. So this lets them wrestle with this idea, come up with a few ideas on how their work might be improved, the company might go in a different direction, or the company might execute their current plan even better. Just basically generating some ideas to do things better. Here's a quick snapshot of what this page would look like. You're going to get a few questions to kind of get your thinking going, to get the wheels turning, and then you have the ability, or every member has the ability to enter their ideas. And so what happens next is that the leader and members see all of the ideas in one place so that they can get ready, consider each other's viewpoints before the meeting actually happens. And then the last step is to basically get together for 10 or 30 minutes or longer, depending on how much time you have, review the ideas generated by the group, and have an engaging discussion around this. So the meeting is actually used for the important part, which is discussing and debating ideas. So the question that we always get asked is, well, how do you keep the momentum going? Typically, when something is rolled out the first time, people get excited about it. So what we do is at the moment where everybody's excited, which is when they're in that room, they're lively, they're feeling great, we decide on the next book right then and there. And then the process starts over again. When they get back to their desk, the book is already waiting for them. And so they are excited to continue this loop. So it just continues over and over again. And the important part is there's nothing that you need to do as the person who's bringing this to the company in order to let this happen. This just happens organically. There's a couple of other ways you could use this book club idea as well. So team leaders can follow this process with their direct reports. So if you have a team member who you know needs a little bit of help and guidance in a certain area, well, this is a way that you can provide that to them on a one-on-one basis without having to do it as a group. And I think this is really important. Any team member at your company can start a club using any book in our library. So what that allows you to do is create these small little pockets of interests around your company, surrounding around ideas that can have an impact, a direct impact on the performance of your employees and the performance of your company. We have thousands of customers around the world, including leaders of some of the world's most respected companies. Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, was actually our first corporate customer, so we were super honored to have them in the Read It For Me family. I know that your company is going to love this as much as Tony and Zappos does, and here's what they have to say about it. We use Read It For Me here at Zappos, and we love it. Pursuing growth and learning is one of our core values, and Read It For Me lets us do that in a fun and engaging way. Okay, just a couple of other points before we get to the end and we can talk about pricing for the year 2 and beyond. Number one, it's very easy to get started, so there's no work required for you to get this launched at your company. We create a landing page that will do a few things. Number one, it's going to describe the service for your employees, so you don't need to worry about promoting this and to sitting people down and describing it to them. Everything will happen in a video, very much like the video that you're watching here today. It'll be a lot shorter, don't worry. And then it'll allow them to create their account on the spot without any assistance from you. All they need to use is their company email address, and they are off to the races. We give you an email that you can send to your employees announcing the program, so you can see this. You can send people to this page. The URL of this page, by the way, will be readitfor.me/your-company. So very easy to remember, so that when people are talking about it, they can easily navigate to the right spot in order to create their account. Finally, it's easy to see if it's getting traction. As the person who is basically sponsoring this for the company, you're going to get access to user activity in the back end, and that'll allow you to see who is using this, what are they doing in the back end. You can even drill down into user details to see exactly what content they are viewing and which content is really resonating at your company. So the final thing is we have easy to understand pricing. Year 1 for unlimited users, it's $299. Like I said, this is a special promotion price. You're also going to get that lifetime membership thrown in specifically for you. And then in year 2, the master license cost continues at $299. And then each additional user is $20 a user. Basically, what's happening here is you're only paying for users who are actually using and getting value from the service, which is something that I know that is really important to you. So this is our way of enabling that. Basically, you get the one master license, and anybody at your company gets access for $20. And there's a few ways you can fund those additional seats, by the way. First, you can fund the seats for your employees if that's something that you want to do. You can have them pay for the seats and expense it. So we'll create a landing page that gives them that promotional pricing of $20 a seat rather than $299 if they had to go out and do it on their own. Or you can just offer it to them as a discounted price, and they can treat it as a benefit. So there's lots of ways you can do this, so you don't have to worry about, what's going to happen in year 2. Are we going to have to take this away from our employees? Well, the answer is no. You can offer it to them as a benefit, or you can fund it yourself. Finally, We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We know that the best way to figure out if this is something that will work at your company is for you to try it. This is something that you need to try to really understand, and your employees need to try it for you to understand if it's something that they will like as well. So purchase your first year of Read It For Me for only $299. Look at the stats near the end of the month, and if you have any issues with your account, any issues with using our service, you get a no questions asked refund if it doesn't meet your needs. So I'm going to wrap this video up here today by asking you a simple question. On a scale from 1 to 10, how ready are you to make this Read It For Me plunge and bring the world's easiest and fastest learning tool to your team? And then finally, of course, why didn't you pick a lower number? So why are you motivated to do this? Think about that for a second, seriously. Why might you be motivated to do this? And then ask yourself, what's the risk here? The only risk is that you're going to miss this opportunity at this promotional price, and then you're going to be kicking yourself in a week when this is gone. So take advantage of this right now, and the special offer ends when the timer on this screen gets to 0. That's your window of opportunity. So take a look at that right now and make sure you know how long this is going to be available for. And if you have any questions at all, you can email me directly at steve@readit4.me. I will respond personally to your email right away, and we'll get you sorted. And I hope to see you inside the Read It For Me community. I just want to finish off the video by saying that. Thank you so much for spending some important time during your day with me here today. I hope to see you on the inside. And once again, email me directly if you have any questions, steve@readit4.me.